Thank you for the relaxing moments. So we should be encouraged that God will work it out for you guys. So we will continue with our revisions. At this moment, I would want to focus your minds to the part where we're going to do multiple choice questions. So these multiple choice are just a summary of what we have been discussing. So just as we relax our minds, I know the answers will be beamed there. We can relate to what I just explained to you. So managerial economics is simply a science that integrates both economic theory and decision sciences to solving managerial problems optimally. The components that look at economic theory are both macro and microeconomics, and decision sciences, we're looking at mathematical analysis and econometrics. And so we're now going to look at section that has true or false. Inferior goods are goods where consumers buy less of a good when their income increases. True or false? That is true. Why? This is called the income effect. So if you buy less of a good when your income goes up, we call it an inferior good. The opposite of an inferior good is a what? Is a normal good. When you buy more of a good as income goes up, then we call that a normal good. Of course, the dimensions for normal good can also be explained at a further level, just for your own knowledge. So between 0 and 1, we call this a necessity. Above 1, we call it what? A luxury good. Both are normal goods, they are positive, except that you can do without these ones. These ones between 0 and 1 are necessities that you cannot do without. So when you got the negative, these are called inferior goods. So when elasticity of income is negative, we call it an inferior good. Elasticity of income is positive, we call it a normal good. Are we together? So we go to the next question to say a market is a place where goods are sold. This is false because it needn't be a physical place. It could be virtual. The inverse relationship between price and quantity, demand, move the same. Well, that is not true. Inverse means opposite. So if the price goes up, the quantity demanded go down. So inverse means they move in the opposite direction. So the same is what makes it false. All right. Decision-making involves a number of steps. It is problem perception, then you follow definition of objectives, then you examine the constraints that are there, which is a budget, then you identify the strategies that are available, then you evaluate the strategies and determine which of the strategies you have to go for. This is a true decision-making process in managerial economics. So change in the factor that affects demand other than price will cause a shift. Correct. So price is the only factor that will only move along the demand curve from point A to point B, because price will move from P1 to P2, causing Q1 to Q2. So other than this, if we're going to increase income, it will shift. The demand will shift outwards. If income shrinks, it will shift inwards. So this other factors like taste, other factors like population, all of them will cause a shift in the demand curve except the price. So I want you to not memorize the answers only, but to understand the principle. If demand is elastic, to increase the sales volume, what we do? We need to reduce the prices. This one says increase. I explained the ramifications behind this. You remember, right? It is only when demand is inelastic when we increase the prices, because people will not be sensitive whatsoever. The interpretation of the demand function.
Mr. Collins, can you come again on that?
I explained briefly in the previous session to say when demand is inelastic, it means that you have no option. There are no close substitutes available. And so you have the power to increase the price whatsoever. Like Zesco can in Zambia, which is a monopoly. It means that they can manipulate the prices, they can increase if demand is inelastic. If demand is elastic, don't make ridiculous changes, especially to increase the price. You alternatively need to decrease the price to increase the sales revenue. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. The interpretation of the coefficient B in this function is simply that for every unit price that increases, quantity demanded will rise by B units. Yes. So if we increase price in this function here, of course, demand function is supposed to be a negative like this. The idea is that if you increase price by a certain number of units, quantity demanded should decrease. But because there's a positive gradient here, increase will be associated with a rise. All right. So if price increases from P1, which is what? 4,000, to P2, which is what? 6,000. The quantity demanded will decrease from 100, which is Q1, to 70, which is Q2. All right, elasticity of demand will be inelastic. Is it true? You need to calculate. What's the formula for elasticity? Q2 minus Q1 over what?
Over Q1.
Over Q1. Divided by P2 minus P1 over what?
P1.
So the answer that you get is negative 1.67. What do we comment here? Is it elastic or inelastic? This is elastic, but what we elastic. So it's supposed to be elastic, not inelastic. So this is false. So if cross price elasticity is negative, remember C minus should be a complementary. S plus, it should be a substitute. So if cross price elasticity is negative, it means the goods are what? Substitute. Is that true? No, negative is for complement, so it is false. All right. The derived demand for product means that the demand depends on the demand for other products. Yes. So a derived demand means it is dependent on other products or factors. Put a one-word answer. A branch of economic theory within which managerial economics is related is microeconomics. All right. Or macroeconomics. Those are branches of managerial and economic theory. So managerial economics is referred to as application of what? Economic theory and decision science, which the tools to find optimal solution to managerial decision problems. I defined this in my preamble. So here, the B stands for the slope or the gradient. So in this function here, the Q stands for the dependent variable and the P stands for the independent variable. So Q depends on P. So this is the dependent variable. It is a result. So you need to expect in this paper tomorrow to interpret the regression output. Regression output. So income elasticity of demand means that every 1% increase in income will result in quantity demanded to rise by C units. Cross price elasticity means that what? 1% increase in the price of one good result in difference in the other good. Are we together? Any questions so far? Are there any questions at this point, everyone? Any questions, please, before I proceed, ask. Are we together so far? Is it clear?
Yes, it is.
We lost you.
All right.
Yes, I don't know if it's me. I couldn't hear anything.
Okay. All right. So, we proceed. Dash refers to quantities that people are or would be willing to buy at different prices in a given period. So demand. Demand refers to the quantities that people are and would be willing to buy. So that two things, ability and willingness, that is demand. So what effect occurs when the price of a commodity falls? The real income is of its consumers increases. That is called the income effect. We have two types of effects. There's what is called the income effect, and there's also what we call the substitution effect. Income effect and substitution effect. What is the income effect? What is the substitution effect? So you need to differentiate these ones and understand them in case they are swapped. So I can explain briefly so that you understand them. So when you're talking about the income effect, we're basically looking at the effect that occurs the income effect is simply defined as the effect that refers to the change in quantity demanded due to change in the real income resulting from a change in price of a good. Whereas substitution effect refers to the change in quantity demanded due to the relative price changes between the goods and its substitutes. So these are the two effects that you need to understand: the income effect and the substitution effect. Okay. I repeat. Income effect is simply the effect that arises due to change in real income that results from change in the price of a good. So when the price of a good decreases, consumers will experience an increase in their real income, assuming nominal income remains constant. So this result will make consumers be able to afford more. Substitution effect simply arises when there are many substitutes available. So if there's a relatively cheaper commodity, consumers will switch from that expensive one to another. So that is called the substitution effect. So you need to differentiate these two. All right. Additional revenue will result from an additional unit sale. So any additional revenue from an additional unit sale is called marginal revenue. So marginal is simply additional revenue. Additional cost is called marginal cost. Additional production is called marginal product. So you need to know anything additional is what? Marginal. So additional revenue is marginal revenue. So price ceiling is the maximum price policy that helps consumers. What is the opposite for price ceiling?
Price floor.
A floor price. Good. A floor price. So we talked about what? Floor price. We need to understand the price ceiling. What else? Dead weight. What else? Consumer surplus. What else? Social welfare. What else do you need to know? Producer surplus. What else do you need to know? Equilibrium. So these are important in case they are brought in a different way. At least you need to know what they mean. So who wants to help us with the dead weight loss? What is it? Or the
Maybe I can give it a try. Yeah, unless I'm mistaken. That is what comes in terms of the consumer surplus. Due to changes of prices, then both the consumer and the producer or supplier loses out.
Okay. Yes, so let me elaborate on them. So floor price is simply the minimum price set by government or any a regulatory authority to prevent the price of a good and service from going below a certain level. It is usually to protect the consumers to ensure that they receive a fair income. Whereas price ceiling is a maximum set by government or any regulatory authority to prevent market price from exceeding a certain price level, which is usually imposed to protect the consumers. And deadweight loss is also known as the welfare loss, which is the loss of economic efficiency that occurs when the allocation of goods and services deviates from the perfectly competitive equilibrium. So it represents the value of the potential gains from the trade that are lost due to market inefficiencies like taxes, subsidies, price controls, and market distortions. Then when we're talking about our surplus, consumer surplus, simply the economic benefit or satisfaction that consumers will receive when they're able to purchase a good or services at a lower price than the maximum price that they're willing to pay. So it's a difference between the price consumers are willing to pay and the actual that they pay in the market. Whereas the consumer surplus is a difference between the price that producers are willing to sell for and actual that they actually sell for in the market. Social welfare is simply the overall being or utility of society as a whole, and it is measured by taking into account the consumer surplus and the producer surplus of the market. So these are very, very important to know. Then we also have producer surplus, which is the economic benefit or profit that producers receive when they're able to sell a product, sales at a higher price. So for instance, you as a consumer, you know that tomato is supposed to be 15 kwacha and you're willing to pay even 20 kwacha. That is consumer surplus. You as a producer, you know that you need to sell a tray of eggs for 15 kwacha, but you're able to sell even at 10 kwacha. That is producer surplus. So these are the concepts that you need to know at the stage. So I'll be deviating so that I could explain more. So if we have elasticity at 1.05, it is elastic. If the absolute value is less than 1, it is inelastic, like 0.01. If it's exactly 1, it is unit elastic. So 1 is unit elastic. So when we're looking at the type of elasticity, when you have 0.00, that is perfectly inelastic. When you have an infinite number, it is perfectly elastic. So inelastic looks like this graphical. So those of you who want to memorize, just when you say inelastic, just to ensure that you understand that the I is standing perfectly elastic. Just remember that in your mind you have like letter E. Of course, now the elastic of demand looks like that. This is perfectly elastic. This is perfectly inelastic. That is how it looks like. So meaning here, our demand is infinite. All right. So we have the following. A low-income company earns $750 per month and consumes 800 kgs of hamburgers and 2 kgs of beef in month 1. But in month 2, when the real income increases to $950, the beggars are consumed, reduces by 5. What is the elasticity of demand? What is the income elasticity? So you need to understand the P1, P2, Q1, Q2, Y1, Y2. And the elasticity of demand, we know that elasticity of demand is got what? Q2 minus Q1 over Q1 divided by P2 minus P1 over Q1. So what is our 750? That is income 1. What is our 8 kgs? That is Q1. What is our 2 kgs? So we have 2 goods here. There's hamburger and what? Beef.
Beef.
So we need to specify so the details for hamburger, the details for beef. So hamburger is here and beef is there. So suppose the low income earns 750. The income is regardless of whatever good we're dealing with. So income is 750 and consumes 8 kgs of hamburger. So hamburger, 8 kgs, and here we have what? Beef. And 2 units of beggars. So 2 units of beggars in month 1. However, in month 2, the income raises to 950, so 750 to 950. And we are told that the quantity of hamburgers consumed reduces to 5 units. So it reduces initially, it was what? 8, it goes to 5. Whilst beef increases to 4, from 2 to 4. What is the income elasticity? What is the income elasticity? So the formula for income elasticity, who can lead us through?
Yeah, I can give it up.
Mm-hmm.
That is a change in Q over change in Y.
Mm-hmm.
Y2 minus Y over Y1.
Mm-hmm. So it's change in Q over change in Y, specifically with those denotations. So we have 5. So we're dealing with hamburgers now. 5 minus 8 over 8. So you write 5 minus 8 over 8 divided by income, change in income. We have what? 950 minus 750 over 750. What are you getting? Three over 8 negative. And here we have what? 200 over 750. So what are you getting there? Are you calculating?
Yes.
It's 1.41.
1.409, 1.41.
Okay. Is that
Negative 1.1.
yes, negative.
Oh, negative, yeah.
So negative.
1.41.
Okay. Negative 1.41. What is the implication? Is an inferior good or
It's an inferior good.
because we're getting a negative? Why? If it was a positive,
A normal good.
Normal good.
a normal good. Okay. Now, suppose we've been given demand functions. We have D for good 220. So here there's a P over this is a Q. This is a Q. I want you to try to find the equilibrium price and quantity for these two. 220 minus 200. $220 minus 200p. Okay. Then we have then 200, then 800 plus 500p. 800 500p. How do you find the equilibrium for these two?
It would be 2,200.
Quantity demanded must be equal to quantity supplied. 2,200,
Yes.
200p.
Plus
Okay, I want you to try to calculate that. Find the equilibrium price and quantity.
the price is 2. And the quantity is 1,400.
You memorize the answer? Or you calculate
No,
it?
I was working it out earlier.
Oh, okay. So here,
No, but the equilibrium price it should be 1,000.
so when you divide 700 into 1,400, yes, is right. The P is 2. Then you substitute the 2 into any of these, especially the supply, it's easier when you put a 2 there. 800 plus 1,000.
It's 2.
Yes, it's 1,800.
1,800. So these are the values that we get at equilibrium. Right.
Sorry, Mr. Collins. Mr. Collins, can you please come back to just on the where you were writing the answers? On the other part, I understand, but the 800 plus 1,000.
When you put the 2,
800
you can put the
one.
2 here.
Oh, 5 times. Okay.
1,500 is 1,800 here. If you want, you can put a 2 here, which becomes what? and 200 minus 400, just to give you 800.
Oh, all right. Okay. Thank you. I didn't see proper.
All right. All right, so we can now go to this question here. We're given the price of good X, price of good Y, the income, and the advertising. So we substitute. And the price of good X, what do we get? What do we put price of good X? 200, put 200 there. Price of good Y, you put what? 15 there. The income is 1,000, you put 1,000 there.
No, it's 10,000.
10,000, you put 10,000 there. The advertising, you put what?
2,000.
Units. Give me the Q.
5460.
5460. So that is the first part they're asking you. How much of good X are we going to put? So this is 5460. Okay. Then how do you find the on price elasticity X against X? The gradient for good X is what? -3.
That's -3.
The price for good X is what? 200.
It's at 200.
Over the quantity we just calculated here. So when you divide that, what are you getting?
144, 100.
This time that over that's negative 0. What? Negative 600 over 5460. What are you getting?
Negative 0.109.
Negative 0.109. This is called on price elasticity. About cross price elasticity, what are we doing? The gradient for good Y times price of Y over quantity of good X. So what's the gradient for good Y? 15.
Yeah,
The price for good X, the gradient for good Y is what?
no, it's 4. No, it's 4.
4.
4, correct. The price for Y?
And gradient is
15 over 5460. What are we getting? So 60 over 5460.
0.01.
0.01. It's a positive. So if cross price elasticity is positive, what kind of a good is it?
It's a normal good.
It's a substitute under cross price elasticity. It's only
Sorry.
if we're dealing with what? Income elasticity. Remember? Okay. Then let's go to income now. Income, the elasticity of income is the gradient for the income times the actual income over what? The quantity. What is the gradient for the income? -1. What is the actual income? 10,000. What is the units? 54 what? 60. What are we getting? 10,000 over 5460. What are we getting?
Negative 1.83.
Negative 1.83.
83.
Negative 1.8.
Negative 1.83.
What type of a good is this?
It's an inferior good.
It's an inferior good. Excellent. It's an inferior good. Is Munda here? Okay. So let's go. Are the goods X and Y substitute complement? They're what? Substitute, because we're the positive elasticity. Is good X a normal good or inferior good? It's an inferior good because why? We get negative there. All right. Are we together?
Yes.
Then we go to this question that we did already in the exam. Find the inverse what? Demand. Inverse simply means make P subject to formula. This guy goes aside. 2px is equal to what? 300 minus 1q. We divide by 2 on all the sides. So our P is equal to what? 150 minus what? 0.5 Q. So this is our answer here. All right. So find a consumer surplus when X is equal to 45. So you sketch this diagram here, the intercepts P and Q. So you put the letters on one side. There's a 1 there. 1 into 150, cut at 150. 0.5 into 150 is what? 300. And the price is 45. We put 45 there. What did we find as our quantity here? 210, isn't it? And you calculate the consumer surplus, which was 11,025. So the 210 times the distance from it here is what? 105. We did this question in the previous section. About at 30, you get 144.00. In general, will the consumer surplus increase or decrease or remain the same as the price of a good falls? It will increase. So this is how the paper was supposed to be done in totality. We have concluded the multiple choice questions. So are we together?